Mike wasn't easy to work for. He treated his staff like a tyrant, and he ruled with an iron hand, basically, and he liked it when he could tell that his staff were in fear.
There was a gal that worked with him specifically doing a lot of visual content. He was so harsh with this girl, and nothing she could put together would please him. It just was thrown back at her, verbally very harsh, very rigid, very firm, and you begin to think after a while, he just doesn't like this girl.
I would approach him to ask him a question, and he would just be like, who are you talking to me? He really made you feel like you were nothing.
There's a fairly elderly staff member that we have here, and he came up to her one afternoon and just, "You liar, you disgusting, despicable liar." And just out of the blue, and where other people are sitting there going, what just happened?
He would shoot me down in flames in front of, 80 other staff members. I would just be in tears afterwards.
You start to feel like, is that gonna happen? You gotta be watch out, be careful. This kind of a operating basis, it wasn't healthy.
In all the time that I knew Mike, for many years, he was always the epitome of arrogance. He was so aloof and so arrogant that it was something I'd never seen before.
Mike Rinder was the best man at my wedding, but for years afterwards, I would see him, run into him, and I was stunned that he was so cold. Never interested, never asked me how I was doing, never anything. It was just a very, very cold person.
Never saw him care personally for another individual. Mike mostly cared about himself.
I was driving my bike, and Mike Rinder had driven past me, and he actually knocked me off my bike. And I fell, and my bike had fallen. But he just stopped, and he just looked at me with this smirk, and just smiled, and drove off. And I was like, wow, how could anyone be so no care, no humanity, no manners, no nothing?
He came and did an inspection, very late at night. He said, if I find one speck of dust, you're getting everybody in at 4 o'clock in the morning. And he did that, getting people out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning because he found a speck of dust. That's how the man operated.
No one mattered. No one in the world mattered other than him.
We knew that, Mike Rinder we kind of looked at him as a figurehead because we knew he didn't really have enough participation in what was going on.
He was lazy. He was absolutely lazy.
I observed many times where he had something he needed to produce or get finished, and there wasn't always this intense or drive to get something done. It was like a kind of a lackadaisical sort of approach to things.
He would take credit for others' work. I would win a number of things, and others in our organization would win a number of things. Then he would take credit for them and live on those laurels. But he didn't actually do anything about it.
He would get a difficult task to do, and then he'd dump the whole thing on you and make you do it. And he did nothing.
Basically, his subordinates would do a lot of his work, and he would just sit there for hours.
At the end of the day, he had nothing. And once I walked in there in his office, and he was sitting there with his, handcuffed, on his chin, and, I thought, I started talking to him, and there was just no response. He was just sitting there just dead asleep.
He had perfected this technique of sitting in a corner and with his back to the rest of the room, and he would look like he was just in the corner reading something, and you go around and he would be asleep.
I would cough or, make a motion, something to get him to wake up or to be startled or something. That happened a number of times.
He got in the way of getting anything done. You had to crawl over him and push him out of the way. And if you got things done around him, it was in spite of him, not because of him.
And the fact that so much compassion was extended to him to try and help him to be motivated and to have a higher work ethic, and constant and repeated attempts were made and he still did it, I guess you would just call it unreformable at that point.
So it's important to understand the trust level with Mike. It's commonplace knowledge with the ranks that he's a bullshit artist. I don't know how he could consider himself trustworthy on pretty much anything else.